Evelyn spent 5 years mocking her daughter-in-law, Sarah, for having an empty womb, until she forced her own son to divorce her and marry a fertile woman. But what happened next didn't just expose the truth. It destroyed everything she thought she knew. When Sarah married Mark, she believed she had entered a home where love would protect her. Mark had been gentle during their courtship. He listened when she spoke, respected her dreams, and promised her that marriage would not turn her into a servant or a stranger. On their wedding day, he held her hands and said, "Sarah, no matter what happens, this home will always be ours." Sarah believed him, but she did not know that another person had already decided what kind of wife she must become. That person was Evelyn, Mark's mother. From the first week after the wedding, Evelyn visited almost every day. At first, Sarah welcomed her warmly. She cooked for her, served her with respect, and called her mother with genuine affection. Evelyn smiled in front of Mark, but when Mark was not around, her words became sharp. "Sarah," Evelyn said one afternoon, watching her arrange plates in the kitchen, "you are still young, so I will advise you early. A woman's respect in marriage begins when she gives birth." Sarah paused, unsure whether to smile or respond seriously. "Yes, mother," she said gently. Evelyn looked at her stomach, then back at her face. "Do not waste time. My son is my only child. I did not raise him, so his family name will disappear." Sarah felt the words enter her heart, but she swallowed the pain. "We are praying, mother," she replied. Evelyn gave a dry laugh. "Prayer is good, but a womb must also cooperate." That was the first time Sarah felt shame in her own marriage. When Mark came home that evening, Sarah wanted to tell him. She wanted to say, "Your mother's words hurt me." But Mark looked tired, and she did not want to seem like a complaining wife so early in their marriage. So she kept quiet. Weeks became months. Each month Sarah did not conceive. Evelyn became bolder. She would ask questions in front of neighbors. "Any good news yet?" She would stare at Sarah's belly during family visits. "Still flat." Sometimes she said it like a joke, and people laughed because Evelyn laughed first. But Sarah never found it funny. One Sunday afternoon, Evelyn came to the house holding a small white baby cap. She handed it to Sarah with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Keep this somewhere you can see it every day," Evelyn said. "Maybe it will remind your body of its duty." Sarah held the cap with trembling fingers. Mark was sitting nearby, scrolling through his phone. He looked up briefly, then looked down again. He did not defend her. He did not tell his mother to stop. He simply said, "Mother, please, not today." But "not today" was not protection. It was only postponement. Evelyn turned to Sarah and said, "A home without a child is just a waiting room. I hope you don't keep my son waiting forever." Sarah lowered her eyes. For the first time, she understood that love alone could not protect a woman when the man who claims to love her chose silence over courage. That night, Sarah folded the tiny baby cap and placed it at the bottom of her drawer. She cried quietly, not because she had no child yet, but because she had begun to feel alone in a marriage that was supposed to be her safe place. And while Sarah cried behind a closed door, Evelyn smiled in her own home, convinced that she was only doing what a mother had to do. But she had no idea that the insult she planted that day would one day grow into a truth powerful enough to destroy everything she thought she was protecting. The house began to feel different, even though nothing had physically changed. Sarah still woke up early. She still prepared meals. She still greeted Mark with a smile when he returned from work. But something had shifted between them, something quiet, something growing. It started with small questions. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Mark cleared his throat. "Sarah, have you ever thought about maybe seeing a doctor?" Sarah looked at him carefully. "A doctor?" "Yes," he said, avoiding her eyes. just to check if everything is fine. Sarah felt a familiar weight settle in her chest. Do you think something is wrong with me? She asked softly. Mark hesitated. No, I'm just saying. It wouldn't hurt to be sure. She studied his face. He was not speaking like a husband anymore. He was speaking like someone who had been spoken to. Did your mother say something again? Sarah asked. Mark sighed. Sarah, please. Don't make this about her. But it is about her, Sarah replied gently. She's the one who keeps asking these questions, not you. Mark stood up, slightly irritated. She's only concerned about our future. Our future, Sarah repeated. Or her expectations. Mark didn't answer. That silence said everything. Over the next few weeks, the pressure increased, but not in loud arguments. It came in quiet, persistent ways. Mark began to ask more questions. Are you tracking your cycle? Did you take your supplements? Should you try a different doctor? Each question felt like a needle, not painful enough to scream, but sharp enough to leave a mark. Sarah agreed to the medical tests, not because she believed she was the problem, but because she wanted peace in her home. The results came back. Everything was normal, perfectly normal. The doctor smiled at her. There is no issue on your side. You are healthy. For a moment, Sarah felt relief. She thought this would finally end the tension. But when she showed the results to Mark, his reaction was not what she expected. He nodded slowly. That's good, he said. That's all, Sarah asked. You're not relieved. I am, Mark replied quickly. Maybe we should keep trying. Sarah looked at him closely. Mark, she said quietly, have you ever considered that maybe the issue isn't me? The words hung in the air. Mark stiffened. What do you mean? He asked, his tone defensive. I mean, Sarah continued carefully, fertility is not only about the woman. Maybe we should both. No, Mark cut in sharply. There's nothing wrong with you. Sarah blinked, surprised by his reaction. I didn't say there was, she said. I just said we should both check. That's normal. Mark shook his head. I don't need to check anything. Why not? Sarah asked. Because I know myself, he replied firmly. Sarah could feel the conversation slipping away from reason. You knew yourself when you thought I was the problem too, she said quietly. Mark turned away. Let's not argue, he muttered. We'll figure it out. But they were no longer figuring it out together. Later that week, Evelyn visited again. This time, she did not pretend to be polite. She sat across from Sarah, her arms folded. I heard you went to the hospital, Evelyn said. Yes, Mother, Sarah replied calmly. And, Evelyn asked, the doctor said I'm fine. Evelyn leaned back, unimpressed. Doctors can be wrong, she said. Or maybe they didn't check properly. Sarah felt her patience begin to weaken. Everything was checked, she replied. There is no problem. Evelyn smiled slowly. Then explain why there is still no child. Sarah opened her mouth, but no words came out, because the truth was simple. But no one was willing to say it out loud. That night, Mark avoided her again, and for the first time, Sarah stopped trying to convince him.